Welcome back to the Two Promises Podcast. Let's dive right into another exciting adventure with BD and crew as he pursues his new passion of one day finding the most epic bourbon. The Two Promises team send their special thanks to Hobie and the Huckleberries for their masterful theme music. So grab a glass, relax, and enjoy responsibly.
Baby says she's leaving if I don't stop drinking wine. So I switched to whiskey, now I'm feeling fine. Drinking that smooth, smooth whiskey. No more wine. I like straight bourbon. Baby, you try the ride.
Welcome back to another great episode on the Two Promises Podcast. I am super excited to introduce a very special guest. He's a mentor of mine, and he has been involved in so many things. Not only is he a combat veteran with multiple awards to include a Purple Heart from combat wounds, which that history and story in and of itself is quite significant. But beyond that, he has gone on to build a thriving gym business. He's a consultant, keynote speaker, author, and multi-business owner. To include the Warrior Tribe Consulting, a fine jewelry company, and the Clark Initiative, which is a 501c3 dedicated to educating, equipping, and empowering veterans in their entrepreneurial journey. I would like to introduce Chris Warnes and definitely say that I am very grateful for you, and I'm so thankful that our paths have crossed. You've done so many things for me over the past year and a half, and it's been an honor to work with you. Not only have you made big impacts on my life, but also in so many other people's, and your dedication to service and giving back is phenomenal. Having worked with you and your team, I know that each and every one of those members are incredible, and that's a direct reflection of you and your leadership. So I want to thank you again very much for your time and for being on the show.
That's quite a compliment. I think the gratitude runs both ways. So thank you for thinking of me and inviting me on to the show. Most importantly, sharing time with you. And I will be jumping at any opportunity to hang out with you. So I appreciate you letting me be here with you.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure, and I'm excited to get into our little interview and see what all great things you have to share with our listeners.
Yeah.
So right now, I know you're very busy. You've got your hands in a lot of things. I mean, just from what we discussed on the intro alone, you're a very, very busy man. And from having injuries and things like that, that can also be a very difficult journey. So I was just kind of curious, would you mind telling our listeners a little bit more about your history, how you came to be at this point?
Absolutely. I think it wasn't until I realized I was playing victim around my injuries that everything really started opening up after that. And what I mean is, my excuse for reasons why I couldn't do things was because I was 100% disabled combat veteran with a Purple Heart, right? That's what I would say. And this is better part of 10 years ago. That was my excuse. So I couldn't do this because I'm a 100% disabled veteran. I can't do that because I'm a 100% disabled veteran. That was my jargon. Like, that was my vernacular that would come out of my mouth, and that was my thought process that would come out of my head, right? My head to my mouth. And I didn't realize I was playing victim around it. And, I was in this victim mindset that I couldn't do certain things because of my past or my reality, depending on how you look at it. Once I accepted that I was basically just playing victim, it had me start thinking about framing it differently in the sense of, what can I do? And it really removed that negative connotation and replaced it with, like a powerful or a more empowering thought around why I can do things. And that really, it's kind of weird to say, but it's when one of the worst days of your life ends up being one of the best things that ever happened to you, I think it's all a matter of how we think about it. And the interesting part about it is, before I accepted that I was playing victim around it, I did understand gratitude from my wounds received. I did have gratitude for my life and for my health, and I have all my limbs. I mean, as well as I, guys that get wounded quite often are missing limbs. And, I did find gratitude. That, coupled with accepting everything, really opened up my mind, my body, my soul to basically taking on as much as I decided I wanted to take on, right? And very par Q to guys, similar to us, everyone listening, we try to bite off as much as we can chew. And, occasionally, doesn't matter, how great we are at what we do, we realize we've bitten off a bit too much. And, but that's okay, right? I mean, I'd rather bite off more than I can chew than not try.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where I'm going with this, right? So I needed, or I wanted to try as hard as I possibly could to go from a background of taking to a future of giving. And in business, I think a lot of people, in life, let alone business, I think a lot of people forget that the premise of many things is giving first. And once I really accepted that and just really looked for opportunities to give, even at my lowest points, everything started changing. My life started changing. The relationships started changing. The businesses started changing. The bank accounts started changing. The impact, the value, the material stuff, everything just started changing. And it wasn't smooth journey. It just, it just kind of opened up my life and opened up my mind to think that I could do things by giving first, rather than not being able to do it because I'm a disabled combat veteran, 100% disabled combat veteran. So I think I'm answering your question, but if I'm not, please tell me. You could reel me back in.
Nope, you hit very well on the head. There's two big things that I kind of pinging off of there that you mentioned. One was some of our propensity to bite off more than we can chew. And in your story, you talked about how you kind of found yourself doing that. And right before we started recording, you'd asked me kind of about my podcast and its kind of story. And that is exactly what I did. Is whenever I was transitioning back off my 7th deployment, I was on a confidence high. I felt like I was on top of the world. I just completed my 7th Navy SEAL deployment as a medic, brought everybody home every time. Yes, we had people injured, but I didn't lose anybody. So I was riding this high of just like, man, I did that, or at least I was very heavily involved. Being in a platoon, that there's a lot that goes into the medical planning, the medical resourcing, and the on-scene treatment initially, and how big of an impact all of that has into success. So for me, I was seeing it as, man, that's not an accident. You don't have that many repeated successes by accident. And so I was just really, really excited. Like, dude, I can take on the world. I can do this. So that was me coming back, and I was like, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do it fast. I'm going to do it big, and I'm going to do it hard. But some of my medical limitations did catch up to me, and I found myself having bitten off more than I could chew, and then I had to kind of dial things back and recognize the reality of where I was. And it wasn't saying that I couldn't go beyond that, but at the time, I did have some medical stuff that really needed to be sorted out. So I took a step back, paused a little bit, cut out the things that were important, but maybe not as necessary or the biggest priority at the time. And I started kind of whittling away at regrowing myself. And really, it was almost a complete reinvention from the ground up. So, man, whenever you said bite off more than you can chew, did that ring home?
And you've shared a bit of that journey with me offline, in person and on other calls and so on and so forth. And I've never told you, but it lands like perfectly well with me listening to you, right? So now you got to listen to me say it in my style. And I think what happens is, guys like you and I, specifically you working on teams, we're so used to being almost convinced that we're invincible, and it's reinforced that we're invincible. And we have the support of our team. I'll tell you what, just in a line platoon, Doc is your most valuable asset. Like, everybody takes care of fucking Doc. You know what I mean? I know you know what I mean, but
right.
You have your whole team supporting you, or extended team or platoon supporting you. And then we get out of the team environment and it's like, whoa, wait a second. I'm only one man, and I'm only human. I'm only one human. I'm only one man. I can only do as much as I can do, and I can only do it as best as I possibly can. And that's not good enough for us. I think where people with our mindsets, where we came from is, well, this isn't to my standard. This isn't good enough. But what we forget is the environment changed, right? It may have not been good enough while we had our teams, or
That's
team,
a very
or
good
platoon,
point.
or whatever it might be, or company.
All
in
the
my
support
case.
and all the things that you can plug into. Yeah, it was so much easier to get those high quality products with less time and effort.
And our standards still stay high, but we don't have the support system. Right. And that's where I think where a lot of vets, specifically combat vets, kind of struggle is we still think we're invincible and have these high standards, but we're not in the situation to where we have the support channel, and we struggle there. Guys like you and I are supplementing, adrenaline in combat with biting off more than we can chew, but no support channel when it comes to a team. So, in hindsight, speaking on my experiences, I know that's what happened to me, and it very well may have happened or happened to a lot of people listening, and maybe yourself, right? You just didn't have those resources.
Right. Absolutely. That's a very good point, and a way to kind of key in on some of those differences. And I think that's encouraging for people like myself, other people who might be going through this. I understand that the amount of combat veterans is extremely, extremely small percentage, but if even just one person can take something from that and find, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I am being maybe too hard on myself, because sometimes a lot of the negative feedback loop we get into after trauma. So this applies not just to combat vets, but anybody who's gone through traumatic experience, and they're on the road to recovery, they're rebuilding themselves, is that self-talk, like you'd kind of mentioned, being stuck in that victim mentality, being absorbed by, oh, this is my new identity now. I am a 100% disabled combat vet. Yeah. And then they're comparing it to, man, I was at the top of my game. I was freaking the star of star quarterback, high school, whatever. And so they're comparing their current situation with their highlight reel, and like you said, not realizing that a lot of that highlight reel is because you did have a lot of other support helping you get there. You were maybe the star quarterback on the team, but you still had that whole team around you. Yeah. And then whenever you're sitting there trying to fight all these things on your own, now all of a sudden you're seeing that disparity, and you might be kind of getting into that negative self-talk spiral. And another, just to be a little bit, more transparent. Yes, I did have some very legitimate reasons for pausing the podcast, but I absolutely could have gotten back to it sooner. I just didn't. I had different things I was chasing, and sometimes something that I struggle with is kind of what John C. Maxwell describes as the perfection gap. Is I want this to be perfect before I put it out, and if it's not perfect, it's not good enough. Kind of speaking back to those high standards and how we can rob ourselves of progress by worrying about that 0.5% of making it more perfect.
I talk, yes, well said. I talk about this pretty often with my friends, my peers, right? Specifically that are, high performing entrepreneurs. And before I get into talking about that, there's a huge polarity between high performing entrepreneurs and specifically combat guys that performed at a very high level depending on branch and teams, right? It's a very similar mindset in the sense of we're just going to fucking smash everything and we're going to get it done regardless. It's just in business opposed to combat, right? And to branch beyond that, it's the same with professional athletes that perform at a very high level. This mindset that we're talking about from, combat guys, depending on branch and teams, high performing entrepreneurs, and professional athletes at the highest level, it's very similar, right? It's very, very similar. There's actually a lot of data produced on this too. But so I have a lot of these buddies, right, that are just super high performing entrepreneurs and yada yada, and this topic comes up all the time, and we all struggle with it to the capacity of what I find to be one of the biggest learning curves, specifically in the entrepreneurial realm, is we open up too many projects without closing projects. Right. It's like I'm gonna write this book, I'm gonna buy this building, I'm gonna buy this new car, I'm gonna hire these new people, I'm gonna do the recruiting. Oh, also I'm gonna do all the things in all of the companies. And it's like, yeah, how long do you think you could do that for, Chris? Yeah. And you know what it does? It diminishes the quality of the performance of the work. Also of our quality of life. We kind of shortchange leisure time. We shortchange filling the cup back up, for lack of better terms, and we focus on what we think is needed to get us to the next level. And a lesson that I've really learned I can say learned now, but had to learn it a lot, over the years is, it's only a handful of projects at once. Unless you have a robust team that's highly trained and you're just kind of there helping guide them, and you have the ability to have multiple big projects going on, if you're a medium-sized or small-sized company, you don't have those resources. And you really have to be cognizant of, well, how many projects can I open at once? And I think this has really helped me a lot in my leadership in the civilian sector specifically, which I was terrible at coming out of the military. I've been in management for 2 decades, including the military, and then went to school for management, including grad school. But where I was terrible at it in the beginning, but what I really learned is it's also delegated off to your teams, right? So you have to be protective of how many projects you open, not just for your mental health, but you don't want to run your teams into the ground if you have teams, right, within your companies. And I didn't know at first that's what I was doing. We just weren't getting anything done. And then I realized, Jesus, we have too much open. We have too many irons in the fire. Let's figure out what's most important. We have to prioritize this stuff. And that's exactly what you just said. It's all right if you take a break with your podcast. You got to prioritize your health in your case, or, family, or a different project. And it happens. Of course, we want to be consistent as much as possible. However, what's priority? A podcast or our health? Well, in my opinion, it would be my health.
Absolutely. And it was definitely a decision that I had to make. And what I can say is I'm super excited to be back, and I'm hopeful that we can still have a good impact, help out a lot of people by having this out there on the show. So I'm stoked. So speaking of projects, that's a very good point. Hey, having too many open. I'm resonating with that right now. I got way too many tabs open in my. So I'm curious. Do you mind telling us a little bit about some of the projects that you do have ongoing right now?
Yeah. I'll tell you about one that's been open for 4 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Man, I wrote my second book. I finished it in 2021.
That's awesome.
I wrote it in 2021, and I finished it in 2021. To this date, it's not done. It's not done to be published. It's written, it's edited, it's mostly fine-tuned. This is one of those projects that when it comes down to me prioritizing, it falls by the wayside. It falls by the wayside because it's the second book. It's not the new team member. It's not the building. It's not the inventory. It's not the class. It's not the business. It's not, the health. It's the second book. And I was supposed to release it in December of last year. I was going to release it on Christmas Day.
Nice.
And then I hit some roadblocks with my publisher. They were missing deadlines, like every deadline, and I had to have that hard conversation. I'm like, hey, we're supposed to launch in 6 weeks. We have no marketing campaign ready. The book's not done. This is what's been coming up. Why don't we extend it a little bit and let's release it on my birthday in May, and let's get this tight. Let's get this tight. Let's just get it done. And I was supposed to be releasing it in May of 2025. However, last month I realized that wasn't going to happen. Last month was January, right?
Mm-hmm.
January. So fast forward a couple of months to the timeline, right? In January, I had to fire my publisher because they're missing deadlines, and and they're still unresponsive, and so on and so forth. And no harm, no foul. I'm not upset with anyone. It's just, it's an important project, and in business, if you're not hitting your deadlines, like, there's problems. And okay, well, what are the problems? And I addressed the problems on numerous occasions, and they took full responsibility for them on every occasion. However, there was no progress. You know what I mean?
Still no change to behavior.
Yeah. It's one thing to recognize it. It's another thing to put into action the corrective part of it, right? The corrective action. And I'm not sitting here bad-mouthing. I'm just sitting here, like, talking about the journey, right? The book journey. Like, I've had this book done for longer than some people have been in business. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's a hell of a journey. It's like a little mini business. It just isn't meant to be at this point. I'm not fighting it. I know that everything is in divine timing. Everything is meant to be when it's supposed to be, whether it's good or bad. It's supposed to be happening. You're exactly where you're supposed to be when you're there. Well, the book's not supposed to be out. That's for sure. Because I can sit here, and my character. I can sit here and tell you I've put everything into this, and it's not happening. But look at it this way. I have a big boulder, and I'm pushing it up a mountain. There comes a point where I can't move it anymore. And the commonality is it's the team. I've been through 2 editors and 2 publishers in 4 years, and it's just not lining up. And I know most of it is me. I'm very rigid. I'm very brash. I will not change my tone. I'm self-published. I don't have to change my tone. I'm not going to change it. If I was in a major publishing house, which I talked to, and we discussed moving forward, but they weren't vibing with my tone, It's very difficult to get into a major publishing house too, by the way, like extraordinarily difficult. But even on the self-published level, editors are like, yeah, you probably shouldn't say that about COVID. And I'm like, why? It's the truth.
Right.
Right. So
I'm sure I'm going to run into a lot of a lot of things with mine.
But it's like I don't care if people have been deceived. I care that the truth is offered, whether they want to accept it or not.
Right.
And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but the point being is, I know it's me. I know that I'm very rigid. I know that I'm very brash. I know that my writing style is very direct. And I don't really like to use this example. However, it's very pertinent here. I mean, look at Goggins. I don't compare myself to Goggins. I'm just saying, look at Goggins. He's brash. He's direct. He's straight to the point. He's made $40 million off his first book. God knows how much more off his second. He's self-published. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like major publishing houses can't touch that guy. I mean, by the way he talks, right? Because major publishing houses control how things are said in the book. Anyways, so props to Goggins, right? Like good for you, man. Like hell of a job, Anyways, so that's one major project that I've had open for many years, and I've struggled, ironically, with leadership being a strong suit. I have struggled with the teams, and that's just the way things go. I'm not going to force it. I could have done it myself on Amazon. Like, it's not hard to self-publish a book, but it's a really good system for entrepreneurs. A 300-page system for entrepreneurs on how to do business with an enlightened aspect or mindset. I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to self-publish it on my own without a proper set of eyes guiding me. So it's just not meant to be. So I'm just kind of in a standstill. And it sucks. It really bothers me. However, what am I going to do? Force it? Well, I've learned over the years that when I force things, the quality is never best.
Oh, yeah. I've messed so many things up by just trying to force things through. Like, oh, this should be happening now. Why isn't this happening now?
I'm going to push this square through the circular hole.
Yeah. Give me a bigger hammer.
Yeah. And those days, right? Those days are over for us.
Right.
I mean, sure, if we had to, we could, right? However, those days of forcing things are done.
Right.
It's not conducive for a happy life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have definitely kind of pinging on what you're saying is notice the challenge. Obviously, I noticed the challenge in the military. I think it's just a different nuance of the challenge of hitting deadlines, accomplishing things through a team, through other people. In the military, the leadership was there. I had the people that could teach me, these are some of the best practices on how we get things done here. But those best practices in the military for getting effective work accomplished, I project managed huge things, huge movements, like insane. And I got a lot of really amazing things done with helicopter squadrons and other languages, you know what I'm saying? And it was fun, exciting, and riveting, you know what I mean? And then now having a transition, and you're like, not only are you trying to work with this other team, but you're also paying this other team, but there's a whole different realm of motivation and like accomplishment that is different from the military. So it has been a learning experience for me and a challenge to translate, okay, getting things done effectively in this new environment. And also I think that the general mindset that many people had throughout the pandemic and all the things that did happen, I think that changed a lot of people psychologically. It realigned what they were willing to do and willing to put up with. And then also any red flag, even if it was just minor, like their off switch is just like so quick and so apparent. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. That has been a challenging journey for me as well. Of just go ahead.
It's hard. I don't mean to interrupt you. It's really hard for people with a background in the sense of smash, high standards, crush, do what needs to get done, get it done now, immediately, deadlines, so on and so forth. But that rigidness of our backgrounds, right? It's really a huge learning curve coming into the civilian sector, working with civilians. I mean, we're technically civilians now, right?
Right.
But working with non-paramilitary or military minds. And hey, you told me you were going to do this. This is our agreement. It's right here in our contract.
Right.
You didn't even send the fucking email. Like, you can't even respond?
Right.
Oh, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Understood. You can't get this done. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just don't waste my time. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy. But the biggest thing that I've learned to do, Brent, is not get upset. I'm just like, all right, cool. Like, understood. I get it. We're just not aligned on this project. So, give you the benefit of the doubt, but I'm going to move on.
Yep.
And you just got to move on. And I've been moving on for 4 years on this project.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with that kind of, if you don't mind me asking,
yeah, please.
What is your vision for this? What are you looking to kind of see in the next stages of development of this project in order for you to be more comfortable moving forward with it?
Yeah. Great question. So I'm at the stage in my career where, so this is year 16 for me in business. And I'm at the stage in my career where I've had to rebuild a couple of times, but I guess what I'm getting at is, I'm buying back my time. I now have a lot of time for me. I've sacrificed for a decade and a half, built an empire, lost it during COVID, and I shouldn't put limiting beliefs on my speech, and rebuilt an empire, brick by brick. We're doing the foundation of it right now. But what I'm getting at is my teams. I have several teams that I work with, but I mean my team, for lack of better terms, but there's several of them. They understand my vision. They understand our vision. They understand our purpose, and they get it. Get Chris out of the companies. Get him out. He shouldn't be doing anything in the companies. They understand that it's not that I don't want to work. It's that my work is better suited over here. Put me in the room on the camera with the microphone. Let me write my books. Put me on the stage, right? Let me build this retreat center. Like, let me do the stuff that no one else can do. You guys are savages. You guys are well-trained. You're well-led. Go get it. Go get that other stuff. I'm right here to back you up. I'm that guy, like, I'm not in the companies anymore, but I'm right there. What do you need help with? Oh, yeah, that's super easy. Let me show you. I mean, true leadership, right?
Yes.
But the point that I'm getting at is, I believe this book is so powerful. This system, it's a system. It's a 13 chapter system. This book, for lack of better terms, this system, this manual, right? Mm-hmm. This will land with all the military listeners. This manual,
right?
Go learn this. What do you want me to do? Read that manual. Fuck. Okay. What TM is it? What FM is it? So
it's the CW.
Yeah, this is CW, exactly. So, long story short, it's a manual, it's a system on like spiritual capitalism, spiritual entrepreneurship. My style, and I'm just using names. I don't associate with these people. I'm just kind of using the names so people understand. My style is a mix of like Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, and Goggins, right? It's not, I'm not, I'm not Goggins, I'm not Carnegie, I'm not Napoleon Hill, I'm none of them. But my style of teaching is a combination of the greats, right?
Right.
And I'm not a one-trick pony. I'm not going to just fucking yell at you and tell you to work harder. I'm not. I'm going to teach you how to work harder. I'm going to hand you the fishing pole. I'm going to show you how to fish. And then I'm going to clap for you when you reel in your first fish, but also make fun of you and yell at you when you fuck up. You know? But then encourage
that tough love.
Yeah, exactly. But then encourage you that it happens. Let's get it done, Mm-hmm. But anyways, long story short, I've read the books, man. I've read not all the business books ever produced, but I've read the books. You know what I mean? My library is extensive. It's right over there.
And you've got degrees in it too. So you wrote also on the books. You've digested them and, come up with your own theses and hypotheses off of them.
So I'm writing off 5 years of military experience in leadership, two formal degrees in business, undergrad and grad, which is heavy in management and leadership, but also 16 years of entrepreneurship with pretty decent, people would consider pretty decent accomplishments in the business realm. And it's my take on it all, right? It's not like I am regurgitating my MBA program. No, I'm giving my take on how to do spiritual, good, ethical, moral, good-hearted capitalism, business. And given that I've read so much, I would consider myself a well-read person. Like I'm an author. Like I should be well-read, right? You're a soon-to-be author. Like I know you're a well-read person, right? I'm well-read. There's nothing like this. Nothing. I've read all the great books. You know what I mean? Like some of them 4 and 5 times. And it's maybe little nuggets out of the bests, but just with my approach.
Right.
And, and it has like wild combat stories in there too, I had the conversation with you, so I'll say this. So my introduction to the second book is when F-14s had to drop in and save my life.
Right.
What?
Right.
What kind of book opens up with that talks about business? Right.
Right.
And it doesn't mean I'm better than anyone. It just means that this is the life that I've lived, and this is how I see life. This is how I see mindset. This is how I see business. And also I've had the ability to be selfless enough to be able to help change tens of thousands of people's lives over my career through fitness and business. So it works. Maybe it works for you, but I also understand that it might not work for someone, and that's okay. I don't believe my practice is best. I just know that it works.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. You have your own unique experience that has shaped you up to this point, and not only have you found success in it, and you've also demonstrated that other people can find success in it. So now it's like, okay, cool. Let's just get this out there as widespread as we can, because if it's helped so many other people and me, how many more people can it help?
For sure. That's well said. Good 2-sentence follow-up on that.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. I can't wait to read it. I really enjoyed your first book. A ton of great nuggets. A lot of it resonated with me, and it helped put a lot of things into perspective. Speaking of, I'm grateful for, Well, I'm grateful for you retuning me in to the importance and the value of gratitude and other methods of reinforcing it so that I can make those neural pathways stronger and faster. And I took a lot of things away from the book, but I would say that is one thing that I am super grateful to have been able to read and connect with you throughout our multiple calls, throughout the Clark Initiative, and really reinforce those in my life. So thank you.
You're welcome. In good. I'm happy for you, right? Like genuinely, I'm happy for you for finding that within yourself, that it was already there. You just brushed it off. You're like, oh yeah, that's right. And listen, if you could take one little nugget from every book, beautiful. The book's job is done, right? In the case of my book, my first book, Dominate Your Day, A High Performer's Guide to Winning at Life, I wrote that right after I accepted I was playing victim around my disabilities.
Wow.
I literally said, because I wrote the book in 2020. 2017, everybody was like, Chris, when are you going to do a podcast? For years, they were saying that. So I did podcast. But then when I did podcast, it was in 2018, 2019, when the podcast was out, its first couple of years. Chris, when are you going to write a book? And I was like, man, I can't write a book. Like, I'm a 100% disabled combat veteran. Also, I didn't read a book in high school ever. I've read, very few books. I shouldn't author a book, So that book was right after accepting I was delusional. I was in this delusion of victim mentality, which unfortunately plagues an incredible amount of people. I think unknowingly, being myself, I didn't even know, but I'm just happy the book's out. It lands really well with specifically veterans and people that have been through some real heavy trauma. It lands really well with that. And it's the premise of my teachings.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So yeah, absolutely. If you haven't checked it out yet, you need to check out Dominate Your Day. Incredible book. It's impactful and it's full of great stuff, but it's not a difficult read. It's not, you can read through it pretty quickly and easily. So don't be intimidated by it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
A regular Army grunt wrote the book. It's a pretty easy read, right? If this grunt can write a book, I could probably read it. It's with the crayon, trying to write it out. Yeah. It's pretty simple. It's 135 pages. It's I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of people along my journey that have listened to me digitally on socials or podcasts, and then read my book, and then met me in person and been like, wow, you're literally exactly the same as you write and you speak. And I'm like, yeah, hi, I'm Chris, I'm authentic. But the point is,
that's awesome.
The book is written how I speak. It's direct.
Excellent. Yeah. Great to be able to speak and be in your identity, in your purpose, in your brand, and then also for that to be recognized back to you. So that's great. And I'm really, I can't wait for the second book. So that's one of the projects that you've been kind of been working on. So we know that's on the horizon.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining us today on this curious roller coaster of life. If this is your stop, please exit peacefully. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you're ready for another one, just push play. Just a final note before you go, thank you, and thank you for feeling. The distillation and aging process is different for everyone. I'm not quite sure what you're ready for. Sip slowly and enjoy responsibly.
Baby says she's leaving if I don't stop drinking wine. So I switched to whiskey, now I'm feeling fine. Drinking that slow whiskey. No more wine.